You know, if there's one thing Seed Freedom has taught me, it's how disgusting whining about not obtaining something you don't have is, especially someone's romantic love. Orphee, buddy, your machine is literally a symbol of wealth and royalty with all the gold engravings and beam emitters it has, while you have a loyal band of servants and a loving quote-unquote mother. And even with all the love Bandai put into the kits of your machine as opposed to some others, you'd still say it isn't enough because you don't have that of one Lacus Marisol Klein. How pathetic of you to start a war from fighting over a single girl because of your emotional damage! What is going on, guys? MJ2005 Gundam here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the high-grade Black Knight Squad Cal-re-A from Gundam Seed Freedom. Named after the Japanese transliteration of Garuda, this Black Knight made of pure sodium serves as the anti-strike freedom and final boss, before all stakes were thrown out the window. This slightly larger than average high-grade knight is made up of a whopping 20 runners, a PET sheet, and a sizable sticker sheet. Realistically speaking though, 8 of those are beams, so it isn't ridiculous enough to need a master grade parts count. Even still, despite the build surrounding the pre-established Black Knight Squad frame, the build feels entirely fresh thanks to the plastic engravings on the armor and the drastically different design compared to the Shiva and Rudra. But despite the high amounts of part separation and the intricate engraving design, the build is quite easy to go through as the parts generally go together smoothly when aligned properly, complemented by the simplistic construction and the whites being easy to clean up after. The only parts that sort of gave me trouble was when closing the shin armor because of the various different elements inside of it, and perhaps assembling the wings and the dragoons getting slightly tedious after a while. But apart from that, the build generally shouldn't trouble anyone with a modicum of experience in the hobby, while the longer than usual build time is only owed to the higher parts count. One thing to note about compatibility though is despite it sharing the common Black Knight structure, the color design would definitely get in the way of some backpacks you try to bash it with, so either get a blue extender, or look for another one, as there is plenty of fish in the sea. If there's one word to describe the Cal-re-A design, it'd be royal. With the regal white knight aesthetics and the gold trims everywhere, it can very easily pass off as a chivalrous knight if you ignore its affiliation. The high-grade version of the design almost feels luxurious in a sense, since apart from the 3,700 yen price tag, all the gold engravings are recreated with the realistic metallic gloss injection gold plastic, which is not only impressive from an engineering standpoint, but also gives the kit some glossy and grainy golden trims that contrasts the duller gold in the inner frame and thruster pieces, and gives the kit a shine without the risk of blinding you. However, it is worth noting that none of the gold pieces are undergated, so apart from the injection swirls, the nut marks like those on the gauntlets, head cameras, and behind the elbow joints would be particularly jarring. Besides that, there are a handful of seam lines scattered throughout the body, most notably the shins, dragoons, and especially along the tops of the shoulders. Nonetheless, the engineering of this kit is just spectacular, so much so that I was kinda disappointed to know that all the purple on the backpack, including the dragoons, are made up of stickers. Thankfully, they serve their purposes well enough with proper sculpting, and the rest of the stickers are used on the head cameras and the 4 different face options you can select to your liking. Personally, I like the one Gundam eye the most. As for other aspects, the kit's sculpting is fierce and sharp, and there is a healthy amount of detail I would recommend you bring out to give the cream and ice whites some further contrast. Beyond that, aside from painting the golds to your liking to hide the imperfections, correcting the purple to a lighter shade and filling in the purple details on the wings, and painting in the golden thrusters on the backpack and backskirt are all you really need for on-screen accuracy. Yes, it's a shame that there are some jarring blemishes, but what they have already done for the visuals is nothing short of astounding. Articulation-wise, the head is on a sufficiently flexible ball and hinge neck joint, but the collar and helmet designs do quite notably restrict the head rotation. The shoulders can move along 2 axes, as well as roll and rotate on its ball joint. But despite the movable shoulder armor and vent, the arms cannot raise up all that much. There is a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and ball jointed wrists. The hinged ball jointed abs and waist allow for wide crunches, as well as a waist roll and a full rotation. Front and side skirts can move away from the great kicks towards all directions. There's a thigh swivel, double jointed knees, movable ankle armor, and hinged ball jointed feet with a moving toe. Finally, the wings can flap in and out. Articulation of the Cal-re-A is decent on the whole, but from sharing the frame with the other knights, the restricted arm raise and leg movements are carried over, while not being too helpful in compensating for the large backpack. But thankfully, the structural rigidity is good with no parts falling off while posing. In terms of accessories, the Cal-re-A only comes with a set of holding hands, but it would be plenty busy with weapons anyway, starting with an opening hatch to reveal the Hyper Impulse Gun Adro Onzi in the chest, which require red details to be painted in. Next is the high energy beam rifle with a sticker for the scope that can either be slid into the hands for use, or be plugged into the basket for storage. For melee, besides the Rock Claws Morse's Mortis on the gauntlets that are mounted onto the Amir-Tat beam shields that have no effect parts, there are the anti-mobile suit enhanced swords, activated within effect parts that can either be slid onto the hands for solid use, or be plugged onto the side skirts for storage. But since they poke out so far back without any guarding from above, they can be more easily knocked out of storage than out of light, and they get in the way of rifle storage and posing, causing them to snap at worst during the latter process or when the kit topples backwards. Up next is a pair of joints with missing white details for opening the wings. To do so, disassemble the joints of the folded wings and remove the armor pieces, then replace the latter onto the expanded joints before reattaching into the backpack. It's a bit of a faff removing and reattaching 16 armor pieces, but the wide and flared out wingspan gives the Cal-re-A more shelf presence when all is said and done. From there, the bottom sections can be removed to function as the Sahas Rabuja Dragoons. Split between the long-barreled and short-barreled versions, they have a removable panel to reveal a 3mm port for separate display, and the gold pieces can open up and accept the included SP6 beams for their melee function. And yes, there are enough beams included for every single Dragoon to have their blades out, but you'd have to get the display bases separately. Speaking of effect parts, there are PET films for the Wings of Light. To attach them, they are pinned onto the open frames before the top armor pieces slides over them for fixation. And with a wingspan that is more than twice the kit's height, it is the definition of larger than life. And with the size and gushing gradients of red energy, and especially when displayed with the Dragoons with all of their effect parts on, you can feel the pure, unadulterated salt and jealousy-fueled anger coming from the figure of chivalry. And if you're worried about mixing up the armor pieces or wing effects, don't worry. The frame pieces are made specifically for each of the top armor pieces in a specific orientation, so the only way they'd attach properly is if they're the piece for that spot. As for the wing effects, you can tell front from back using the top coloring, as the orange side faces front, while the notches on the side are specific to a particular segment of the frame, so even if you lost track of them, there's a nifty way of telling them apart. For leftovers, there are a bunch of seemingly useless frame pieces, but besides the extra parts from the Black Knight's frame you can use as Shiva replacements, there's an extra torso frame and backpack thruster for the Cal-re-A should anything happen to the ones you're using, so hey, win-win for the two kits thanks to the spares of one. Being the most expensive standalone mobile suits of the 1 to 1/44th scale Seed Freedom kits, there's a lot riding on the back of the high-grade Black Knight Squad Cal-re-A to justify that price. Well, does it? Knowing Bandai's stingy history with effect parts, having them go all out with those in order for the kit to be fully featured is more than worth it to me. On top of the tremendously good sculpting and fully color separated engraving trims that are in a beautiful but blemished gold, all packaged in a straightforward high-grade build. But besides sharing some movement restrictions common with the Black Knight's frame, I think Bandai could have upped the price by a few pennies to have the purple on the wings be plastic, undergate the gold, and have provided at least some G-Wish display bases to make full use of the Dragoons for the less avid collector. On that note, the tedium with the wings is unquestionable, no matter how unavoidable it may be under a high-grades engineering. I personally struggle to call it the best Seed Freedom has to offer, but its strengths outweighing the cop-outs and nitpicks definitely puts it up there. Bottom line is, you're getting this kit in order to recreate the unit from the movie, and it provides everything to do that with relative ease for its price, which is why I will recommend it. And that's all for me. Thank you for watching, drop a like and comment if you did enjoy the video, subscribe for more content like this, and feel free to follow me on social media with the links down below. That said, take it easy, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out guys, bye bye.